Welcome back, Dr. Eddie, 2 weeks in a row. So excited.
No, yes, I am too. I'm very excited. I have so much to say, so much to think
Well,
about.
and usually I'm going, what do you have for us today? But I know what it is. It's called
I,
demonstrating emotional leadership.
I know I
And
tipped you
and I'm
off.
excited. I know I'm excited.
Yeah,
So I'm going to turn it over to you.
but you know what else? I got like three other topics.
You know what?
I,
You can
I,
come back more often.
I think I might start doing that because I actually even believe I've come up with the antidote for defensiveness.
Oh,
And but it
okay.
takes it takes the partner, the betrayed partner, to take part in that to help it. So we might do that
I'm
next
going to
time.
stay tuned. Okay.
Yeah,
But
we're
let's
gonna
talk
look at
about
that. All right.
demonstrating
Yeah,
emotional
right.
leadership today.
So, hey, first, thank you folks for being here. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope that you're going to get a lot out of this today. And as Tammy said, we're going to be talking about demonstrating emotional leadership. So, let me start out with the really hard truth here, right? When a man betrays or a betraying partner betrays their partner, the greatest challenge they face is not stopping the problematic sexual behavior. Most of them learn to do that, especially if they're using the inner child model with the what I feel, what is real. It is learning how to stay emotionally present after the damage has been done. Right? Now, again, I'm going to use the word man. As you guys know, I understand both men and women can be betrayers, but I'm going to use man for them.
It's just cleaner for pronouns.
It
Otherwise,
is, right.
it's
That's
confusing.
all
So
crazy.
yes, we'll
Right,
use female partner, male addict. Just
right.
so
So there's no man who expects to be in the position that they're in after their mess is discovered, right? They think the work is about becoming and maintaining sobriety, but they're really sadly mistaken about that. Being sober, as you've heard me say, is not enough. What ultimately determines whether a betrayed partner will heal and whether the marriage will be renewed is going to depend on whether that individual who betrayed can emotionally lead in the presence of her horrible pain. But here's the issue, right? And many of you know this because you've heard me talk about it before. For many men, sitting with emotional discomfort is not a familiar territory. In fact, their inability to sit with emotional distress is one of the reasons that they sought out to distract themselves using sexual means. But now here they are in the height of probably the greatest emotional distress they have ever faced, along with the women who are also facing that. And we're asking them to lean in. We're asking them to validate. We're asking them to reassure. We're saying, don't be defensive. Stay emotionally regulated. Be curious. Demonstrate empathy. Empathy. Most of them don't even know how to spell the word empathy. Right? Now, don't make any mistake whatsoever that I'm feeling sorry for these individuals. Again, I'm one of those individuals. I've been there. I am not. My heart goes out to the ones who've been harmed. But I bring up this topic because we need to set expectation regarding what can we get these men to do and the time frame in which we should expect it to be done. All right? Are we following me thus far? Okay. So my objective is to get men to establish emotional leadership. Now, okay, so what is emotional leadership? Well, I'm going to explain that in a moment. Let's continue to focus on what the challenge is. All right. You cannot establish emotional leadership if you can't emotionally regulate yourself. Right. And you've heard me talk a lot about this emotional regulation. If if her pain hijacked his, if her anger overwhelms him, they're going to wilt, okay? Or they might get angry. If her grief triggers him into a spiral, a shame spiral, then it could be anger that pops up. All of these actions indicate one thing, and that is that he is not focused on her emotional discomfort and concern. They're not facing up to the mess they created. What we really want, and to be honest, we just want it to go away. You guys just want it to go away. But you know, Doug, I have a secret for you. She wants it to go away too. She wants it to go away. So we have men who are not emotionally developed. They got stuck in one of the 6 stages of emotional development. I'm going to go through that at some point, not today, but in the future. So they got stuck in one of those 6 stages of emotional development, which left them trying to manage the fear that cripples their ability to emotionally bond and to attune to other people. So what we have here again is what's standing in the way of a man developing emotional leadership. Well, basically is not being able to emotionally regulate, what they have to learn how to do proactively, and 2, fear. The fear of I'm in trouble, the fear of I did something wrong, the fear that, no one understands, the fear I'm not good enough, the fear that, I'm unlovable, whatever their fears are, those fears prevent them from leaning in. And they have to learn how to deal with those fears as they're going through all of that. So in talking about, emotional leadership, demonstrating emotional leadership, let's start by talking about what emotional leadership is not. It is not controlling the conversation. It's not trying to convince her to calm down. It's not attempting to manage her reactions. And it's not getting her to validate your progress. Okay? That's not what emotional leadership is. Because if that's what you're doing, and most of you are, that's what you're doing, then you are not demonstrating emotional leadership. What you're doing, and I know it all sounds harsh, and I'm sorry, but you're trying to protect yourself just the way you have all your life. You're still in that mode. But in actuality, you're not protecting yourself. You're just digging a bigger hole for yourself, for her, and for the relationship. Emotional leadership is not about winning. It's not about fixing. It's not about manipulating. It's not about persuading. Instead, it has everything to do with the way you handle emotional distress when things become uncomfortable. And betrayal trauma is uncomfortable by definition. When your partner grieves, when she cries, when she accuses, when she questions, when she escalates, or revisits the past, it overwhelms your autonomic nervous system. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Now, any of you who are not over the age of 60 have no idea what I'm
I
just
was just going
talking
to say
about.
that dates us, but I smiled. Yeah.
But
So,
that's all right.
yeah.
But that's what it is. It's danger. And that's what our autonomic nervous system, when it overreacts, okay, what it's doing at that moment is scanning. It's scanning, looking for problems. And for us, us guys who went through some difficult times, we were constantly scanning for where is the next problem? Where does it lie? What goes on with that? And that's what it still does now. And with that scanning, what happens is you don't respond, you react. That's what it is. So when their nervous system overreact, what do these men do? They disappear emotionally. They shut down, they defend, they minimize, they argue the fact, they try to calm the storm instead of standing in it. I have to stand in a storm, not try to calm it. And you know what? Your partner feels that. She understands, she sees what you're doing. And she doesn't feel safe and she doesn't feel connected. She feels that your attention moved past her pain to your discomfort. And that's not emotional leadership. That's emotional retreat. So, what is emotional leadership? Basically, it begins with one simple but very demanding commitment. I will emotionally and mentally manage myself so that I can stay present for her. That's it. That's what comes down to. I'll repeat that again. Okay. I will emotionally and mentally manage myself so that I can stay present for her. It is a commitment that we make. It's not fixing the pain. It's not stopping her emotion. It's not defending your intention. It's staying present and being calm and being confident. When she escalates, the emotionally mature man does not interpret that as danger. When his nervous system is saying danger, danger, no, it's not danger. It's grieving and it's pain. And I'm supposed to be her protector. And I've done an awful job of protecting her thus far. You know what? I need to change that. I owe that to her. I owe it to me as a man who is evolving, that I'm going to protect her. And again, I have to understand she's not the enemy. Disconnection is the enemy. Now, again, why do you have this issue? Because when she gets that way and your nervous system gets activated, it's because of something from your past. There's somebody else in the room. Mom, dad, sibling, a teacher who embarrassed you in class, whatever it may be, peers. But there's someone else in the room that has that system saying, we felt this before. We've been through this before, and I can't manage it. Shut it down. No, no, we can't listen to that. We have to regulate so that we can be there. So instead of pulling away, I maintain that emotional regulation and I lean in. I am calm. I am grounded. I am steady. Hopefully, my hand's steady. Not cold, not robotic. It's not silent. Silent, just think, when we say lean in and be present, it doesn't mean that's not it. There needs to be an engagement. You need to be aware. You have to be listening to certain key words that she said and say, whoa, 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 that word you should use, or that statement that you made. What a client today said to me, his wife said to him, you know what? You haven't been brought to your knees yet. And I go, what does that mean? I mean, I know what I think it means, but what does it mean to her? You have not been brought to your knees yet. He's like, I'm not sure. Let's go find out. Let's ask the question. What does that look like? How will you know I've been brought to my knees? But we tend not to ask those questions. We tend not to go there. Why? Because fear. I'm going to take this situation, I'm going to make it worse. No, you make it worse when you sit back and be passive. That is how you make it worse. Because you're staying in, not going to like this, you're staying in those addictive behaviors where I don't want to sit with the pain and I want to run away. And you run away not by leaving, you run away by just being silent. It's shutting down or defending or something like that. And we can't do that. We are supposed to be growing, supposed to be evolving for that. So therefore, he's present, he's aware, he have attentive listening so that you can ask questions that gain more insight regarding her distress. That was a real key thing, about, being brought to my knees. I want to know what that is. There might be clues in there that will help me to understand what you need from me. And if you don't ask the question, you're never going to know what it is. When you stay emotionally regulated in the presence of her pain, when you are curious and ask questions, when you show an active interest in, I want to help in whatever way I can, what you're saying are some very powerful things. You're saying your emotions don't scare me. And you're not saying that in a cocky way. You're just saying, you know what? I'm not intimidated by them. I can stay. You also saying I'm not fragile. How many of you want to be fragile? I don't want to be fragile. But you're the ones who's responsible for that, whether you will be seen as fragile or not. You're saying I can handle the reality of what I caused, and that's really important. It's not like I just vomited all over you and I'm not going to be here to help clean you up. No, no, no. You go get cleaned up. I don't want to go near that. No, we're saying I can handle the reality of what I caused. You're also saying you don't have to minimize your pain to protect me. Because some women do that. Because they know if I give him too much, he's just gonna collapse on me, or he'll be the one sitting here crying, carrying on. And most important, what you do is you communicate, I'm here for you. For a betrayed partner, that's safety. And safety, not explanations, is what her nervous system is seeking in order to regulate. You have to remember, when you're going through this and you're feeling, she's doing the same thing. She's doing the same thing. But we make it like, oh, well, mine is more important than hers. Well, no, we don't even think that because we're not even focused on her. All we're thinking is like, oh my God, she's in one of these moods right now. And it's like, she's not in a mood. She is being physically and mentally and emotionally activated in ways she can't control because she is dysregulated. And I'm not going to sit here and say, lady, you got to start getting regulated, okay? I mean, at some point we do, but not at this point. So therefore you have to understand, and again, stop making it about you and make it about her. So again, one of the biggest obstacles when it comes to demonstrating emotional intimacy also is that the man our need to be right. Right? We have this need to be right. When an accusation surfaces, especially one that feels like unfair or inaccurate, most men they feel this irresistible pull to correct it. They think if I can just explain it to her properly, she's gonna calm down. That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Same thing a 10 or 11-year-old was thinking when he tried to tell mom and trying to explain to her about what he did, thinking that she'd be like, oh, you're right. You're right, son. Don't go to your room. You're okay. How often did that happen? Right. But once you start explaining, what she experiences is something very different, okay? Right? She sees a man who's more invested in defending his image than acknowledging what her fears are. And here's the truth that you guys need to hear. You could be factually correct and emotionally absent at the same time. And that's not a good thing because that's the hill you're going to die on. That's what you're going to die on. My wife has a saying, she goes, you could be right and you can be alone. Sometimes we don't always have to be right. Demonstrating emotional leadership means you prioritize her experience before you need to explain. Now, that doesn't mean the truth doesn't matter. What it means is timing matters more in those moments of distress. She's distressed and it's like, no, wait, you got it wrong. You don't understand. No, that's not the time. All right? Emotional leadership responds less like defense and more like humility. So here, this is what it sounds like, okay? It sounds like I understand why your mind goes there, given what I've done. Or maybe it says, your fears are making sense to me. Or maybe it says, I'm not here to argue with your pain. Right? Only after you've laid that foundation that you make through validation, because what you're saying, it comes from the heart. All right. I don't want you to hurt that way. Then you ask permission to clarify. Yes, I said ask permission. You need to ask permission. So for example, your fear makes sense to me. All right, you made an accusation. It's not true because you know the detail. Your fear makes sense to me, right? I do, however, have some additional information that could change the way you're viewing the current circumstance. May I share that with you? And you may say, no, I don't want to hear your damn excuses. You don't push, you don't plead, you don't sulk. Instead, you simply acknowledge that's not a problem. If you change your mind, please let me know. And then you wait. You let her settle down. Let her autonomic nervous system relax. And then you return later with the same steadiness because demonstrating emotional leadership is not a one-time performance. It's consistency over time. So you go back the next day and you ask once again, may I share this information with you? And if you're rejected, okay, understand, and then you go back the next day and you try again. Let's talk about conflict, right? I often hear clients say, he's doing his little check-in with me at the beginning of the week, and he'll say, oh, we got into a youth battle. A battle? Wait, a battle requires two combatants. So why would a man who's already wounded his partner feel the need to fight with her? That's not emotional leadership. That's ego protection. Emotional leadership means knowing when to pause. Betraying partners, ladies aren't going to like this, but betraying partners have boundaries too. All right. If a partner is being contemptuous, if she's throwing things, if she hit, then the betraying partner all right, as a sign of emotional leadership, calmly announces the discussion right now has to take a break. I need to take a break. All right, because if I stay, I'm going to start to get emotionally dysregulated, and then I'll start fighting with you, or I'll start trying to explain and be defensive, and I don't want to do that because I've hurt you enough. The last thing I do that you deserve is for me to sit here and argue with you. So he doesn't storm off, he doesn't shut down, he doesn't punish her with silence. What he does, he leads a pause and he announces, look, I'm going to return to see if we can start this conversation again. But right now, I'm going to go take a break and I'm going to make sure that I come back very emotionally regulated. So I've given you a few examples of things, but let me say this and let me be very clear. Demonstrating emotional leadership is not a script. It's not a strategy. Okay. It's not something you perform to get a result. It is driven by a man who is no longer ruled by emotional fear. A man who is anchored in integrity, humility, growth. A man who's maturing and transforming. A man who feels confident. We don't lean in because it works. We lean in because it's who we're becoming. Betrayal creates enormous emotional storms. But storms don't require panic. In fact, storms require steadiness. If you're on a boat out in the ocean, you have a storm, you need to learn how to make sure everything is steady as well as much as it can be. And that requires you not to panic, but to be very regulated despite the conditions around you. When a man can stay present, stay regulated, stay grounded in the face of pain, of her pain, something profound happens. Her nervous system starts to soften. Trust slowly begins to rebuild. And healing then is possible. Not because you convinced her, but because you had shown her again and again that you are safe. That is demonstrating emotional leadership. That's what I got for you today, Tammy.
It's great stuff. And so I was thinking, when you're talking about the storm, a couple of things, the kind of common stuff around 12 step is, suit up and show up. And I have the vision of like, if I'm going into a storm, like you said, being grounded, being emotionally regulated, I'm going to have my blizzard coat on or my rain jacket. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be prepared for that. So I'm going to take care of me so that I'm ready to face those storms. So I think that you also talked about being curious, and I think it's really important to be curious. But I also I've heard people going, "Why do you want to know that?" Well, that's not being curious. So making sure that the question is, well, you get what I mean, though. It's like, yeah, I'm curious. Why do you want to know that? Versus, I want to understand more about that, not sound defensive in the why do you want to know that. So paying attention, tone matters. I love how you were talking about things, and about being regulated, and I'm going to be thoughtful. I'm going to not be focusing on, oh, this is so scary, oh, this is so scary. I'm going to be
Right.
thinking, I can do this. You talked about being fragile, and then you also click, because I wrote that down, but you also clarified that there are partners that protect their, oh, if I say that, he'll
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
Right.
which doesn't help. So,
No,
so
help nothing.
both of them, yeah, both of them can be playing into that. And again, doesn't help anything. So,
Right. That's right. I
okay.
mean, I've talked to women who are like, oh, I have so much more I'd like to say to him, questions I want to ask, but I'm afraid to. It's like that's not going to help. You're not that relationship's never going to heal with that.
Well, and he's never going to grow. I mean, it's
Right, he's not
yeah,
correct.
neither of them are going to, they're going to get stuck. So,
That's
yeah.
right. Exactly.
So somebody affirms that they'd love to hear the antidotes for defensiveness. This is something my husband and I are really struggling with at the moment. He's a betrayer. And I wrote it down too. So we'll look forward to hearing more about that
Okay.
topic in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
This one says, you are asking a lot of the betraying partner. I'm not a practicing counselor, just another lost partner attempting to repair damage.
I expect to hear this often. So I'm going to try to be as gentle as possible because I know how much you're hurting. First and foremost, one, what I ask, and I really haven't asked much in this, what we talked about today here. I didn't ask this at all. In what I'm going to talk about when it comes to defensiveness, I am going to ask something. But I think what I'm going to ask, and again, it shouldn't be for people who are just newly in the discovery process. So that's not what we're talking about. But you're 2, 3+ years in, to be able to, instead of reinforce his sense that I've been criticized with more criticism, what do you get? Escalation? Is that what you're aiming to do? I don't think so. I think what you're aiming to do is get him in a place that he can be empathetic about you and your pain. Well, guess what? This is the empathy path. You start with that he felt criticized unjustly, right? And he got to be able to move over here, right? But unjustly. And then we hit him with more criticism. He's going down that road. And it's going to get ugly. And all of you have been through it. And I'm not excusing him for that. Okay. I'm not saying, oh, well, hey, you hit him with another shot. What do you expect? I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is he needs to understand and learn how to deal with that, but there's a better way for a partner to be able to handle that situation. There is a better way. And what do you ultimately want? Do you not want peace? Do you not want healing? Do you not want comfort? Or do you just want hell? Because he'll give you hell. Not meaning to give you hell, but he'll give it to you. So that's what it comes down to. Like I said, we're gonna talk about this next time in depth, but I do expect you. I expect there's gonna be, I don't care what I say, what I do, there's gonna be a group of betrayed partners who are gonna say, that's not fair. You shouldn't be asking us to do that. Okay, then you know what? Don't do it. I'll focus on this group over here of people who do want to take that chance and do it because I've seen them do it. I've seen this and it works. I'll focus on them. I'm not angry with you. I'm not upset with you. In fact, I'd be praying that, hopefully whatever technique you use, that it winds up working. But I know this stuff works. And so therefore, I will focus on these people. I am not forcing anybody to do anything. Never would. It's your life. You figure out how to do it. But you could either keep banging into the wall or you could learn to go around the wall. And what I'm doing is showing people how to go around the wall.
Yeah. I'm with you. And I'm a big person of like, do you want to stay stuck? I hear stuck and it sounds miserable for both of you. And if that's what you want in your relationship, people will do that for years or decades.
I know,
We're going
and
like, there's a different way to do it.
I'm
Everybody
not
gets to
blaming
choose.
them,
Yeah,
right?
no,
I'm
no.
not blaming.
I'm
I
with
know
you. I'm not blaming. I'm not shaming.
right.
But
This woman is hurting. She's hurting so bad. And it breaks my heart that you're hurting. All I'm saying is, I think I have an idea that might help you hurt a little bit less. He still has work to do with that, though. He has work to do, and that part what I'll explain next time. But thank you for bringing that up. So.
So the next one is, would you or have you written an article about the ideas you suggested in this talk in emotional leadership?
I am in the midst of writing that article, along with about 10 other ones, and a new
Yes.
book, and 3 presentations that I have to give. So yes,
It's too bad Dr. Eddie, doesn't have anything to do these days.
I
But and
know,
then
I
and
know.
this will also
And
be
oh, then
posted
I
on our
have
website.
clients too. I have
I
clients.
know.
Don't
I
forget
know you're
those.
busy. Grass isn't growing underneath your feet, right? So
Uh,
okay. So the next one is the partner in pain and grief cannot take a time out from the nightmare. So why should the person who caused it have the luxury?
oh, see that? All right.
Yeah, yeah,
Got it. I'm glad you asked that. That's the way you
yeah,
put that, right?
yeah,
See what causes an issue there for you? If you look at it as a luxury for him,
yeah.
it's not a luxury. Well, what he or she does it so that they can take this energy, that negative energy, and calm it down so that they can come back and re-engage with you. Okay, it is not, and I understand it's much more difficult for those who've been betrayed to regulate their pain because it's been such a shock and it is fairly new. However, the pain that the betrayer is feeling, he has had that pain since he was young. And what happens is along the way, you almost start to become immune to it, right? You feel like it's not really there, but it's there. It's still trembling underneath. So the reason to take that break is for you. Because if he stays, he's going to get more emotionally dysregulated. And if he gets more emotionally dysregulated, he's just going to, whether it's, again, will or get aggressive. And you don't deserve that. You don't deserve it.
Okay, so the next one, my major boundary after the last major D-Day 18 months ago was no contact with 2 long-term mistresses ever for any reason. I have discovered that he violated this. Additional contact via phone and potential plans to meet one for a family gathering. He even had the nerve to call one of them evil. He is defensive and full of exact. Is that considered a slip or what?
What? A
Oh,
slip?
that's not a slip. That's,
That's
yeah. We
not
have
a
a treatment
slip.
program for guys like him. I'm going to pull the
You know,
information.
let's take a moment about slips
Yeah, yeah.
and relapses. I had a client who reached out to me and said, "Oh, I did this, this, and this. You know, I was just edging." I go, "You weren't edging. You've relapsed. You only you know what I see a slip. A slip is this, okay? A catalog, and hopefully you get no catalogs that are this big. But a catalog comes in, it's like a basic compute issue, and my wife throws it on the counter like that, and I come in, I look at it, and I go, "No, I can't do that. That's a slip." Okay, it lasted seconds. Thought about it. Gonna do it. No, done. There aren't that many slips. Most of them are relapse. In this case here, I mean, he's sitting here and he's planning things. He's planning it. He violated what was your boundary. And you're right, it should be a major boundary. This is, personally, I think this is almost one of those you're done boundaries. All right. So, and then, he just, he gonna meet one for a family gathering. That's just bizarre. So no, this is not, especially because they're long term. This is not a slip. This he he broke your heart again. That's what he did, and he showed his true colors. Obviously, he's not changing. He's not, again, well, D-Day 18 months ago, year and a half, and this is his behavior today. You have a man who's not doing what he needs to do. And you're going to have to evaluate that and figure out what is it you're going to do. I'm not spending a whole lot of time focused on him. If I'm you, I'm focusing time on me and what do I need.
Yeah, I read someone who's in active addiction. And here's one of the other things I'm reading is this was the last major D day was 18 months ago, which means
Oh
there's a
yeah.
series of major D days. And I hear that this is a boundary. Well, a boundary always has a consequence. So what was your stated consequence for you? What were you going to do if he violated it? That would be, yeah, I mean, he did. So what are you, what have you chosen? What was the stated consequence so that you are able to implement that as part of that? So yeah, I've got more stuff for you. Email tami@seekingintegrity.com. I've got
Yeah.
some other ideas and resources for you, in
Mm-hmm.
all of this as well.
Right.
So
Because
I'm
you
really
have
sorry because yeah, this guy
yeah.
is yeah,
You have
yeah,
to
he
ask
broke your
yourself,
heart
why
again.
why am I gonna allow him to continue to do this to me? I mean this is just sad. Very sad. I'm sorry.
Here's one for you.
Okay.
I really struggle to not get triggered by my wife's responses and my emotions really get out of control. I can see where I go wrong retrospectively. How can I manage them in the moment? That's a
Yo,
great
man, you can't,
question.
man, yo, man, and I've said this before. You wait till you get in the trenches, you're gonna fail. You need to practice. You have to practice regulating your emotion on a daily basis, two, three times a day. I have a list of 22 emotional regulation techniques. I have pressure point that you can use to learn how I can keep myself regulated. But you can't wait until you get there. So if you email me at innerchildmodel@gmail.com, I'll be more than happy to send that to
Yeah, we, even practicing the timeouts. Dr. Eddie talked about, taking a timeout. I I suggest to couples that they practice that when they're not in the moment because it's very difficult to do that if you are waiting till you are in that moment. Well, when we get there, we're going to do that. No, practice it multiple times when you're not in that moment. This is what we'll do. And we're going to, I'm going to, I feel myself getting activated. I'm going to step away. I'm going to come back in 20 minutes as we agreed. I'll meet you at the kitchen table, whatever it is, but I'm going to go work on grounding, like what practice then
you.
you're going to go, oh, yes, this is, we know what we're doing and we both agreed to this. Great. Okay. So the next one you mentioned about how long this should take. We are 5 years into our recovery work and still lack the consistency of leaning in and initiating conversations that are difficult.
Well, then once again, my guess is he's not emotionally regulated. And again, people spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on different programs, courses, books, videos, you know, intensive to learn how to emotionally bond. And they can't. And the reason they can't is because we're putting the cart before the horse. We need to teach them how to emotionally regulate first. Because I could have all the skills in the world. If I'm not emotionally regulated, if fear is still driving me, I'm not going to be able to implement any of it. And that's where his focus has to be. Again, innerchildmodel@gmail.com, and I'll send you those techniques. But it's something that he has to work on faithfully every day, two, three times a day, spending about 10 minutes so that he'll know, ooh, this is where my window of tolerance is. So when I find myself, we're talking and I start getting out of that window, wait, I need to go take a break. Give me 15 minutes. Let me go regulate, and then I'll come back so we can continue.
Well,
That's
and you can
folks, that's the way it works. That's the way it should work.
and you can grow your window of tolerance because when we come
Yeah,
into recovery it's minuscule
it is.
and
It's
so
exactly
we learn, but if he got stuck in this is as much as I can do and just not acting out is not recovery. So if he is not actively working on doing the work that changes us, I mean this is a lifelong process, so it takes continued work and growth
right.
throughout. We still work on ourselves. I
Right.
know that. I'm saying that about you. I know you.
No, let me give you an example of something,
Yeah.
okay? The two of you are having a conversation, all right? And all of a sudden he start turning blue. He can't breathe, right? And like he's got want to go do something so you get to, and no, you can't go anywhere. No, you stay right there. All right, you continue. You're not running away from me. Now I'm exaggerating. But you know what? Actually, I'm not exaggerating. It's the same damn thing. It's the same damn thing. Except what he's doing, what he's feeling is not life and death. Not life and death. But damn it, it's causing you a hell of a lot of pain. And you could end some of that pain by giving him that 10, 15 minutes to go, come back. Okay, I'm ready again.
So the next one, betraying partner here. What is the best way to autocorrect after I notice I've become dysregulated and my partner is heading down the road as well? You might have answered this.
Yeah, okay. Betraying partner. So what's the best way for you to autocorrect? Well, one, knowing what is it that helped me to regulate, again, all those different techniques. Which one should I use? There's one where, again, the soft base between our thumb and index finger, just massaging that. And you could do that right here while you're sitting here talking to her. You can be massaging. Make sure that you're breathing. We don't breathe well. Make sure that you're focused on her and what's going on with that, but also make sure you're asking yourself, what is this fear? And you may have to say, I need to go take about 10 minutes so I can understand. And what the question becomes, like, when have I felt it before? Not with her, but with someone else. When was that? And then you're going to realize where it was and say, you know what, that's not what's happening now. That's not what happened. That's not her. That's not what she's doing. She's doing it because she's in pain and she's hurting. Okay, not because she was insensitive, not because she was abusive, not because of any of those other things. That should be able to regulate you. But again, you look for, and this is like one of the pressure point things I'm talking about here. There's lots of them. There's one, it's a great one right here, but I really don't recommend you do that while she's talking to you. I think it'd be distracting.
And I think I know for sure addicts are really disconnected. And so understanding, oh, I start to feel a knot in my gut, or I start to feel my shoulders going
Yeah.
up. What's happening in your body? And if you're paying attention at the first sign of, oh, there goes the clench. Okay, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to relax, and I'm going to like a lot of it is paying attention. If I'm taking the focus off of me and paying attention to this other person, and I'm curious, it's not like this is not an attack. I'm going to be curious. I'm going to be an investigator. Like it shifts things because then it's not personal. It's like I want to know more. And I find that can be really helpful too. But and there's things you can do to co-regulate. I see both of us getting dysregulated. Can we do a breathing exercise together and get regulated so we can see if we can continue this discussion? Lots of stuff, and we've done bunches of webinars on that as well. So,
Yeah.
okay, next one. Great talk. Thanks, Doc. Betraying partner here. I appreciate you laying out what it is and not to show up to show emotional leadership. How long did it take you to consistently do these things? Or how long should I expect it to take if I practice these principles and stay grounded consistently to feel the confidence and see results in the relationship? Great
That's
question.
a good question. Took me about 2 years to do it. And I will tell you, I am not perfect at it. I did it the other night with my wife. She said something and I started getting defensive. She told me, you really need to go watch one of your videos. Um, yeah, laugh at my expense here.
No,
I
well,
know, I'm only
no,
kidding you.
it's one of
I'm
those things
kidding
where
you.
I can relate, that could go this
Uh,
guy named Dr. Eddie, you might need to go watch his video. So
Yeah, I know. But you know what? We're never going to be perfect. Nobody's perfect at anything.
no.
But it took about 2 years to do it, consistently practicing these principles. I mean consistently. And 2 years, I wasn't as fluent as I am now. But the one thing is this, that when you find yourself, if you get into a period of time where you find, oh my gosh, I just keep tripping up, tripping up, tripping up, what's going on? Am I regressing? No, the problem is most likely you are trained mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually. And when we're drained in those areas, we're not going to be very focused. We're not going to be very aware. And therefore, then we're going to become more reactive rather than responsive.
Okay. I put the link to his inner child website. So those of you that are asking you, it's in the chat. You can grab that and it has the email address in there as well. How long do you give the betraying partner space to process after being confronted by a couples therapist about his addict behaviors that are causing our pain? He has run away and feels like it is punishment with a threat of abandonment.
Okay. All right. How long do I give him to process? I'm not giving him a real long time because I don't want him running away for a long time. What I want him to do is, okay, you're our therapist confronted you. He told you about what was going on. Sit down with him. Now, again, I know I'm going to hear some women are going to say, oh, you're acting too much of me. But you know what? What are you feeling now? Why did it bother you so much? Why did you feel so threatened by what that counselor said? Do you find any truth to what he's talking about? What kind of ownership would you take? Sit there and you have a conversation with him. And therefore, what you're going to do is you're going to allow him to be vulnerable. And in being vulnerable, he can learn how to be able to emotionally connect. More importantly, this is good. This is what's going to happen. He's going to say, oh my gosh, I can trust her. I could share this stuff with her. And she's not attacking me. She's not berating me. She's just wants to hear where I am. And that is what will help him to develop more emotional leadership. But I'm not giving him a long time to do it. I mean, I think it has to be if you go to him, he said, no, I don't even look, why let's come in, sit down with me, and you could share whatever it is, wherever you're at right now. Yeah.
My one caveat to this is Dr. Eddie talked about this being, later term stuff. This is not stuff right off the
This
bat.
is
And yeah, and you're talking about he's being confronted about his addict behaviors, which sounds like he's in
yeah,
active addiction.
yeah,
So
no.
that's a whole different,
Yeah, no,
conversation.
this is
So yeah,
now too, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
anytime in the process, something like this has to be dealt with.
yeah.
Good
Okay.
question, Marie.
Can you talk about the recommended body language or practices for the couple when having these talks, i.e., sitting down, facing each other, eye contact, hold hands if permitted?
That's a good question. I like that. However, I can't answer that question because that's up to each couple. More importantly, it's up to the betrayed partner to say what. Now, I personally think that the betraying partner, as soon as she wants to talk or whatever, if possible, sit down. Sit down. Don't stand up. Sit. Face her. You definitely want to face her. You definitely want to have an eye contact. You want to sit there. You want to lean in a little bit. You want it to be like, okay, I'm here. I'm listening. Standing up, if you're standing up face to face with her like that, then what happens? It gives you that chance, unfortunately, to, maybe like what I do a lot, like all of a sudden I'm like backing away, backing away, backing away. Instead, you sit down, okay, I am an attentive audience. I am here. As far as holding hands and stuff, again, that's up to her, what she thinks and what she feels. Because even again, let's say she said, yes, you can hold my hand. And then you're holding her hand for a while, and then let's say you feel like, oh, her hand's getting really warm, and you pull it away. You don't know where she's going to go with that and say what. So therefore, you got to make sure you explain, hey, you know what, your hands are very warm. Can I just give my hand a break for a second? Like that, you got to think things through, but have the conversation. That's a wonderful question, Don. Have the conversation. Talk to her about, hey, what do you do? And leaning in is good. Because we get guys like this, like, all right, well, whatever. Okay. Okay. Or they're looking everywhere else. They're not looking at her. And that's actually just rude and disrespectful. And again, it's the 8-year-old. You've been around my chair. You know, that's what it is.
And I mean, generally cold, so I tend to like cross my arms. They tuck in good.
I
Um,
do
but
too.
but I think it's like really important, like the open body language of like if I just have my hands open on my lap, like separate, but I'm just going to keep my hands open and I'm going to listen. I'm going to lean in a little bit, as relaxed as you can possibly be. And if you're focusing on that, and yeah, like the more calm you can create in yourself, that helps co-regulate too. So, okay, next question. As
Yeah.
betray are betrayers taught somatic exercises, nervous system regulation, et cetera? I ask because it's their own dysregulation and maladaptive coping mechanisms that create the chaos in the first place.
Yeah.
I well,
Go ahead.
I just had a conversation with somebody. I'm going to work on having a webinar about somatic stuff. And I was like, ideally they would be taught all of this, but
Yeah,
you know,
Tammy, they're
exactly.
not.
I know. I was like, nobody's paying attention. Like it's like do these things. So I 100% agree that it would be, but like it's willingness is the key. Like, oh, I got some
Yeah.
work to do on my somatic. Great.
But I mean, it's difficult, but no, it's not being done as often as it should.
But I'm working on a webinar, so stay tuned.
Good.
Okay.
Yay.
When starting to practice emotional regulation techniques daily, how long will it take to start to work, and how do you know if it's working for me?
Well, that's a good question too.
Yeah.
Again, it's different, Patrick. It's different for everybody. Okay, because again, it depends on how damaged. I shouldn't say damaged, but how overreactive your autonomic nervous system is. Okay. How you will know is, and what I do is I tell people, you know what, before you sit down and do it, you write out, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, what do I feel right now as far as my anxiety? Okay, I feel sick. All right. And now what technique am I going to use? I write that down. And then after I'm done, where do I feel? What do I feel? And usually you're going to find a lower score. And that's how you could tell. You could tell that, oh, you know what? I feel slightly more relaxed. It's not like the only way you're going to know that how it really impacts you is when you do it, when you are really tense. Because I'm telling you, proactively do it, but you should also do it in those times when you're feeling a lot of anxious. Oh
So
God, we still have a ton of questions.
I know I took a pick. I'm going to capture them. You're
Okay.
going to come back. We're going to talk
Yes.
more about other things, and we always run out of time. So we
I
should we
know.
should do this more
I
often
think I
in your
think we
busy
might I
schedule.
think we may try to look to do this twice a month.
That would be great. Okay.
Well, it
We're,
depends on them. It depends on whether
no, oh,
they
no,
want
no,
it
no.
twice a month.
They will say yes. It's great content.
Yeah.
We're going to say yes. Okay. All right. We got to go. He'll be
Gotcha.
back. Stay
Thank you,
tuned. Thank
everyone.
you all. And the video will
Bye.
be posted later today.